Watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Now back home on Dalal Street, the markets ended the session with cut of around 1% each. They were pulled down lower by autos and metal stocks. Now the Sensex lost 500 points intraday and the Nifty ended below its 200 DMA. The mid-cap index also took a knock of around 1% or thereabouts by the time it closed up, while the Nifty Bank, that was a relative outperformer, that ended by close with a cut of around 0.8%. This morning, the Sensex-Nifty is indicating a bit of a pop-up, in fact, maybe a 15-20 point pop-up after yesterday's selling. But let's go across to Mangalam. He joins us in the studio to run us through all the cues that are stacked up for us. Well, Mangalam, before you tell us the cues, what about Apple cutting its guidance? Whoopsie daisy.
Whoopsie daisy, it is. And it's not a dinky toy stock. Has the 10% weight on the Nasdaq, about the 7th heaviest weight on the Dow Jones. And as a fan, I feel very bad that, not a lot of people will be buying iPhones. Most of them coming in from China. Not that I care about the Chinese.
Now you're widening your scope all the way to China.
No.
All right, tell us about the Indian markets. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the Indian markets. Yes, yesterday wasn't a good day of trade. The Nifty Sensex losing about 1%, the Nifty Bank losing about 0.8%, and the mid-caps underperforming. However, there were a lot of factors. We discussed all of them yesterday. Just a recap for that as well. Why were the markets weak yesterday? One, because there was global growth fears, which was reflected in the Chinese data. Along with that, it was also reflected in the way the metal stocks fell. Apart from global growth concerns, there was domestic growth concerns as well, which was reflected in the weak auto sales that came in for the month of December, and that is something that we witnessed in the reduction that we saw in the auto company share prices as well. There was weak cues coming in from the global markets. Dow Jones or the Dow futures indicated a cut of about 400 points at the open. There was resistance at the 100-day moving average, and there was weakness in the rupee all through the course of the day, which ended closer to the lower end of yesterday's trading session. So the weakness in the rupee told you perhaps there was some money being pulled out by the FIs. Remember, yesterday was the first day where the volumes picked up a little bit. So gross volumes were close to around 2,500 crores. There was heavy selling by the FIs, the data confirmed. Cash market sale of close to 621 crores. Index futures sales of close to around 800 crores. And stock futures too, where the FIs pulled out nearly 1,000 crores. It wasn't just the FIIs, the domestic institutional investors too coming back after a holiday, selling close to around 226 crores in the cash market. But the big question, the 100-day moving average resistance did not hold. Can the 200-day moving average support hold? Because yesterday we saw a bit of a recovery from the lows, where above the 20 and the 200-day moving average, and the 50-day moving average comes in about 100 points lower at 10,626. Why does one say that? Well, because yesterday, while our markets were lower, the Dow futures were lower by about 400 points. So we were factoring that in. And then last evening, we saw the Dow, the S&P, as well as the Nasdaq recovered about 2% from the lows. The big question will be what happens today, given the Apple shares falling about 7% post-market, and how does that impact the index? Because the companies slashed their guidance. The iPhone sales are weak. We have been getting reports of that earlier. It has a fair amount of weight on the Nasdaq as well as the Dow Jones. So let's see how that pans out. Dow futures right now, or rather the US futures right now, indicate a mild cut. We'll have to see volumes pick up out there. But if there was a downside, the FIs consider themselves protected, because in this series itself, nearly 70,000 puts have been bought, and this compares with just about 30,000 long calls. And in today's trading session itself, they believe that if at all there is a downside, there could be protection, because yesterday, while they bought about 17,000 long puts, they also sold about 16,000 short puts, and that's telling you there is support. It is the Nifty Bank weekly options expiry today, so let's see whether we find support or not, because the maximum open interest in puts is 175 points lower from where the spot is right now. This compares to 325 point difference between the maximum open interest for calls. So that's telling you maybe we are seeing some support on the downside. However, first out of trade, very important. If we do break the lows, then there could be perhaps a case for you to revisit perhaps the Boxing Day low of 10,535. There is support at the 10,500 mark in terms of maximum open interest in puts. And December 11 low is a fair distance away from here, 10,334. So that is something we will keep an eye out on. Most important, watch out the first out of trade. The SGX Nifty indicates a bit of a pop. Let's see whether that gets sold into or bought into.
All right, Mangalam. So basically, FIIs are selling, DIIs are selling. Nobody's buying Apple products. So where are all the buyers then?
I have no idea. We will find out where the buyers are right now. But in terms of individual stocks that I'm watching out for, yesterday we got some data coming in from the exchanges with regards to the Bank of Baroda, Vijaya Bank and Dena Bank swap ratio. The swap ratio has been announced. We've been calculating on our Excels and we realized that the ratio suggests there could be a 27% giving away of gains from Dena Bank as compared to the swap ratio. So 27% discount for Dena Bank and 6% discount for Vijaya Bank. So either Dena Bank and Vijaya Bank fall or Bank of Baroda rises, or both of that happens and all of them meet at an equilibrium. Talking about banks, Bank of India, the board has approved increase in their authorized capital from 3,000 crores to 6,000 crores. So let's see whether more capital comes in on Bank of India or not. HDFC to mull raising of 45,000 crores via NCDs on January 29th along with their third quarter results. Tata Power, BEST, has extended their 677 megawatt power purchase agreement with Tata Power for the next 5 years, and this is at the same conditions as it currently prevails. And finally, Asian Granito, remember the stock did fall on reports that the promoter and some of the key managerial personnel have been arrested with regards to a 3.5 crore rupee contention of findings by the DRI. Now the company has informed the exchanges that the company has already paid. So let's see how the street takes that. Well, these are clarifications that do come in. The big question is whether the faith is restored or not.
That's right, Mangalam. Thanks so much for that. Well, in terms of Apple, it's quite interesting. The stock has corrected nearly around 32% from its recent peak.
Right.
Yeah, I was looking at the market cap erosion. That as well as $350 billion. Massive, eh? $350 billion. That's nearly around 17-18% over the entire Indian
market. That's Reliance, TCS, and
absolutely,
another
25 lakh crore.
Yes.
So that's a big number. Apple's going to be the stock that will dominate the evening. So we'll keep an eye out on that one. Thanks so much, Mangalam, for joining in and giving us